In the UN Security Council on October 26, 2016, when the ambassador of Syria spoke, the representatives of the US, UK, France, and Ukraine left. This is our video, followed by analysis.
لم تقم الحكومة الفرنسية بتزويد الإرهابيين الذين هاجروا مسرح باتاكلون في باريس للمواد الغذائية والإنسانية وفتح معبر لهم كي يخرجوا من باريس لدواعي إنسانية أيضا يعرفها السيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for this opportunity to speak again. As an international civil servant acting impartially, I do not retract, qualify or disclaim any fact or part of my earlier statement, which I can assure you, Mr. President, and each and every member of the Security Council, that I and my team and the wider United Nations put together with great care, great seriousness, and great professionalism. Mr. President, I am prompted to state the age-old truth. Don't shoot the messenger.
Okay. We came up to this booth because we anticipated a walkout by the US, UK, and France as Jafari of Syria spoke, and it did happen. France actually never came back. I don't think if Delato was the speaker, and he was. U.S. came back, Sisson. We're going to go down now and see who we can get on the way out, but we wanted to capture that on film in a largely empty Security Council chamber. We'll run this one through. There's no translation in those booths. This is the UN $2 billion renovation, but they don't actually want you to understand anything. I mean, if you don't understand some of the languages of the big six. But that's a fight for another day. The Free UN Coalition for Access demands much better from the Department of Public Information, including a commitment to stop evicting and restricting the media that asks questions and awarding their long-time offices to Egyptian state media that never comes in. Oh, look. Sleepy times. Sleepy times. Let's go. That was the move. Oh, we could stop. Oh, we won't. We could stop and show you Akbar al-Yam, nowhere to be found. Egyptian state media, whose correspondent was never seen for 10 years at the UN. Pure censorship. Here we go. They had told Inner City Press no one can ask questions here in the hallway. In fact, made a threat because we dared ask Mr. Ladsouth. But apparently, it doesn't apply to everyone. Okay. Looks like this meeting is over. There's no consultations at all.
And it's very well really carefully. Back here.
Gracias. Anything on Yemen? Even New Zealand said that there should be a no-fly zone over Sana'a if there's one over Aleppo. Not sure what Spain's position is or might be. Anyway, you've seen it. This is the dysfunction of the Security Council. Not to say I'm all in favor of open meetings, but they actually have a draft to discuss. But this turned into it's the walking out I don't quite understand. If you feel a country, a regime, quote unquote, is so beneath you, you're going to leave. But the Security Council, it seems like the principle is they should listen to the countries they're acting on. There's some other bad hombres. I was in a Burundi meeting in the Peace Building Commission, and many of the same countries stayed in the house. They stayed there. Here we go. We're going to get something. We will get something.
Exactly the point that was not factual.
Was quite outrageous. As both for long it's just outrageous. The expression that actually came to what have been used in it's outrageous. No, it's not amateur theatricals, it's the Security Council. So you cannot simply come out with your sort of emotions described in a literary, pretty way. You need to stick to the facts. And the fact that he didn't mention the fact that there have been no bombings in Eastern Aleppo in the past 7 days. I mean, we're not asking for praise, but the failure to mention that, to me, was devaluing entirely his whole pitch to the Security Council.
Is there any response to the Costello Road proposal you've made?
Oh, they said no. They said no, we're not going to do it. The Russians said no, we cannot stand together with the Russian soldiers on Costello Road. We would love the Russians to do that. This is what
Why don't you call the UN as they requested?
It did not work out.
Can I ask about extending the mandate of the gym?
Well, our position is that first we need to understand what the fourth report is going to be. We're discussing that tomorrow. We need to understand what the value of the work has been, and we need to see if we are to extend the mandate of the gym. If some added value could be given to that. You might recall that several months ago we wanted Jim to do a little bit of additional work, simply tracking reports of the possible preparations by various terrorist groups in Syria and Iraq for the production or use of chemical weapons. Unfortunately, it was blocked by our Western colleagues. So in our view, since we are to discuss whether or not Jim needs to be extended, we need to also discuss that possibility. Actually, we believe that the scope of this mechanism has been too narrow, and the value of their product is questionable, with all due respect to the very hard work they have been doing. So it needs to be a serious discussion. So a kind of a quick technical rollover is not going to work.
Ambassador, you mentioned the U.S. bombing in Iraq.
Of course,
you mentioned the U.S. bombing in Iraq. Do you think that should be discussed at the Security Council?
I think when we discuss Iraq, it's going to come up. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to bring the discussion of Yemen into the open, and also we intend to invite Mr. O'Brien to tell us about the humanitarian situation in Yemen. If we want to have more openness, we're fully prepared for that, I can assure you.
What about the walkout?
Ambassador, did Russia bomb the hospital in Idlib?
Sorry?
Did Russia bomb the hospital in Idlib today?
We don't bomb hospitals, but I'm not aware of this situation.
The walkout. What did you think of the walkout of the P3 and Ukraine?
Well, this is what they do regularly. I think it's strange. It's, in my view, inappropriate, but this is what diplomats sometimes do. They leave their junior officers at the table. If they want to spend time in a nearby cafeteria instead of participating in the discussion, and of course they returned when O'Brien was prepared to speak. But, this is one of the tools in the hands of diplomats. In the absence of other tools, you sometimes resort to that.
Ambassador, you promised more open meetings like that.
Yeah. I said we're going to do that on Yemen on the 31st. Why not?
What about Iraq?
What's the next thing in Aleppo? What's going to solve it?
Well, there are ongoing discussions in this Lausanne format among experts, and our hope is that what did not work out with the Americans in the bilateral format can now work out with a group which is a little bit larger, because there are people who can influence the situation on the ground, and also who can help separate the so-called moderate groups from Jabhat al-Nusra.
Ambassador, sorry, I need to amend my question.
We asked him about the walkout, and he said that this is a tool that diplomats can use in the absence of other tools. They did come back in, but, if we were going to amend our question, we would amend it to say that France did not come back. Perhaps the cafeteria was too good. Let's see who else we can get over here, and then we'll put that answer up. C'est fini? We'll return to the small booth to which we are confined by Ban Ki-moon's censorship order. We'll end it with the booth view and the voiceover. So, to recap, this particular periscope, but we can go further back, but let's just stick with the periscope. As the Syria meeting became increasingly dysfunctional, as insults were traded, and it became clear that the New Zealand draft, of which Spain and Egypt, it's still rolling, so you can always go back and see it, at least for the next 23 and a half hours. As things got totally dysfunctional, we could sense that it was happening. The last speaker, the last non-walked out on speaker was Egypt, speaking for the new trifecta, the new triumvirate, the new triple play of humanitarians, which are, at this point, Spain, New Zealand, and Egypt. When Egypt spoke, we knew that Syria would be next. And so from this very booth, this small booth, went up to the photo booth, getting permission, of course. And as predicted, as we got there, they stood up. As the floor was given to Ambassador Bashar of Syria, the ambassadors of the US, UK, France, and Uruguay. There may be more, but I think those were the 4. They walked out. We did our best to catch it. You'll see at the beginning of this Paris. You'll see some photos that we tweeted of them, and they left junior people in their deal. You can't have a meeting without somebody in the seat. So I guess that was their way of respecting the Security Council. The only thing I would say is, again, there are many bad. I said hombres. Let's just say that many people feel that there's many delegations, many countries whose records are, atrocious, etc. They don't get walked out on in the same way. This is a kind of, I'm not sure what the next step for the P3 is going to be. If you walk out every time that Syria speaks, what do you think that's going to make them not speak? Do you think it's a message? The room was largely, at least the public gallery, largely empty. It seems like it might be undercutting the very multilateralism which, for example, the Obama administration, I don't know really about the Theresa May administration, or definitely the Francois Hollande administration, they speak about the UN as a place of multilateralism. So it seems like even if you despise your enemy, the point here is to listen to them. Is it that painful to sit? Maybe they'll explain. On his way out, we did ask Ambassador Churkin about the walkout because we like this kind of thing. And he said this is a tool, they went to the cafeteria. It's a tool diplomats use in the absence of other tools. It's definitely legitimate. There's nothing illegal about it. The question is, what's the goal? And if this doesn't bring the Assad regime to book, if this doesn't turn things around, where do you go from here? First you've walked out. Do you take your chair with you? It's not to make light of it. It's just to say what's taking place here is the diplomatic game. So we want to know what this move is about. Now, more substantively, or equally theatrically, Ambassador Churkin did say on the stairs that he intends to call for the Yemen session, which would have been closed, to be open. And he wants Mr. O'Brien to sing from the same script about Yemen, where in fact people are starving. You can find the photographs. Farmland has been bombed by the Saudi-led coalition with US and UK bombs. So it'll be interesting to see that. It's sad, though, that such a serious issue is kind of a tit for tat, but this is what we've come to at the UN. And so on this note, we're going to end this broadcast and get to work. Yeah, it's extremely severe. I mean, this is just an aside. I get sent a lot of, horrific photographs. I try to not wallow. It's just, but these are just too much. It's too much, especially during the brief pause that existed. It seems like some people came forward and were taken to clinics, and they're down to the bone, and it's shameless. You can definitely. Much of what was said in the council chamber today about Syria can be said about Yemen, and it's important that as they say in some book, that you take the speck out of, before you talk about the speck, not the speck, the enormous floor beam in somebody else's eye, you take the floor beam or at least 2x4 out of your own eye. It's shameful what's taking place, I would say, in both places. It's a tragedy, but to say that things have become politicized, I think is indisputable. Okay, on that note, this will be resumed, and there was a speech by Ban Ki-moon. Okay, sayonara.